repeat all that?
Probably ought to.
Yeah. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to a town meeting on neighborhood Skiloft Road, Tuesday, October 18th. Unfortunately, the mayor is not able to make it here today due to surgery. Keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I need a motion to call the agenda open.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Chief.
All right, sorry for that little technical issue. Tamara's not here today. Kelsey's pitch hitting again for the second meeting in a row. Thank you very, very much. The meeting today is a town hall meeting, or a neighborhood meeting actually, on Skiloft Road. And what we'd like to do today is present to you a project that will dramatically affect your neighborhood. Basically replacing all the infrastructure, all the water, the sewer, the electric, the cable, TV, the internet, and solve the stormwater drainage issues, and then put a brand new road in there. So what we're going to do today is go through a short presentation on what we believe the issues are. Benji Thomas from West Engineers is here. He's designing the project for us. And hopefully by the time we're done with our presentation, you will have some questions that we can answer for you. So we'll get started here. And certainly, council, if you've got any questions, give me a holler. So what's the problem? The problem is your water lines are 50 plus years old and leaking, and that's an understatement. Oh, by the way, Daniel Davis, I didn't see you come in, our utility director. So for the town perspective, the water lines are critical up there. They're leaking today. And we have constant failures up there, and that's why you have those big holes in your road and potholes and things like that as we've been digging it up and replacing it and then patching. The sewer lines are in the same condition. One of the main problems we have is infiltration, and that means when there's stormwater, it gets into the sewer line, and we have more flow than we can handle, and the sewer system has failed as well up there. As important, the electrical power, all the underground conductors are not put in conduit, they're buried into the ground. The way that was built 40, 50 years ago, the neutral conductor was wrapped around the outside of the cable, and that has deteriorated to a point where in many cases there's not a neutral. And you may have seen some of the homes up there that have a power buddy to make the power work because there was not a neutral available for that. The electrical power has a secondary feed that comes across the ski slopes to that neighborhood, and it's failed. And currently the neighborhood is on the single feed coming up Skiloft Road. The telephone and cable system, it's old technology. It's copper wire. It's not high-speed broadband. It's not fiber optic. And it's reached its useful life. And if you've driven up there, you know the road surface has failed. Not only the surface, but the base underneath, from many reasons. One, we continuously have to dig it up to replace and repair the infrastructure and then patch it. Two, as important, the stormwater runoff is deteriorating the roadway base. So that's what we see as the problem. So we have proposed we have additional problems. I shouldn't forget the fire protection. Yeah, I put this in. The fire protection up there is limited. You're on 4-inch water mains with low flow coming out of the tank up above. And the stormwater we've talked about, the stormwater drainage simply doesn't work. If you've been up there during a storm, rainstorm, it washes everything away. The access is a problem. We've got one narrow curvy road up the mountain to a dead end. We don't have any roads like that in the town, and I'm not sure there's many roads like that in the state. And there's no second roadway access. We looked at coming in from the top. We looked at a number of things we could do. There simply is not a secondary road access. So what's the solution? Well, we'd like to aggressively attack the problem with a well-coordinated total infrastructure replacement and upgrade construction project. which means we don't want to do this piecemeal. We want to do it as a single construction project, and dig it up, tear it out, replace it as quickly as possible, all of it. We want to limit the impact to the property owners by bringing all utility providers into the planning and construction process, which we've done. And we want to do construction during the off-season months, which would be as soon as the winter breaks during the early spring, and get it done by July 1st. That's a very aggressive timeline. We're not even sure that we can do that. And we're moving forward in that planning process, but we've met with 2 contractors that normally do this project, this type of work for us, and they are concerned that you can't have any hiccups, you can't have anything get in the way, you can't have any weather delays, you can't have any failures to get this done aggressively in that time frame. However, if we don't, then we're forced with multiple contractors, us for the water and sewer, electric, communications, all doing their own thing. And so then we've been doing this long enough that we know that when you do that, the construction time gets extended because everybody says, well, I'm waiting on this guy to finish digging here, I'm waiting on this backhoe to get out of the way. So the plan is for the town to contract one construction company to do all the digging and start and dig the project, tear out all the old, put in our water and sewer for us, put in conduit for the electric, telephone, and cable, and get it buried back as soon as we can. And then get probably a temporary road in there by July. So the next thing we need to talk about is funding. The town has secured funding for this project. The funding requires that this project be completed by 12/31/2026, and that might seem like a long time away, but not really. That means it's got to be closed out, it's got to be paid for, all the bills paid, all the reports to the government done. So timing is really critical on this. What's important for you to understand that if funding is lost due to timing, it may not be available in the near future. This is an opportunity that we don't believe, will come around again. We've got some funding through the CARES Act, we've got some loans from the state. If we're going to do a project of this nature, it's going to have to be done very quickly or we'll lose the funding. Quite frankly, the town will take the funding if we can't get this project underway and we'll use it elsewhere. We're not going to leave this money on the table. So you need to understand that. If we can't get the community to buy in on the project, and it becomes obvious that it's not doable in the near future, in the next year or two, the town will take that money and use it elsewhere.
How much is that amount, Chief?
Well, it's
Give approximately, unless you don't want to say it.
I don't want to say. It's
Okay.
in the multi-million dollars.
Okay,
But we haven't finished the design, so we don't know what it's going to cost.
I understand. Thank you.
Benji, ballpark, a couple $1 million.
Well, the portion that's grant has been on it is $5 million. That's not just for Skiloft, that's for
Correct.
the whole town, water line and water service replacement.
Correct. But this piece of the project, do you have a ballpark?
Well, for the water piece of this project, it's several $100,000.
So I don't want to give you a number.
I understand.
Because you hold me to it as you do. I will.
But the goal then would be 100% payment the grant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you can't beat that. So, it's
So the project, as we've said, is replace all the water lines, service lines and meters included. Replace the sewer lines and manholes. Replace all of Mountain Electric system, relocate transformers and meter bases. And what we mean here is, if you've been up there, you know that some of the transformers and some of the meter bases aren't in the best possible spot. We have trouble plowing the road because that's where they're located. So we have an opportunity, if we're replacing the entire system, to put things where they need to be, where they make the most sense. That includes fire hydrants too, because we need to do some work on there. Replace the telephone lines with fiber optic, replace the cable and internet system, replace the roadway. Importantly, it will be new paving, but drainage is going to be the issue. We want to fix as best we can the storm water runoff and drainage on that road. And then of course striping and reflectors get done with that at the end. So we need to talk a little bit about the electric meter bases because Kevin, as you said, it's like free money. There can be and there probably will be expense to some of the property owners. One of the issues is the meter bases belong to the homeowner, to the property owner. And some of the meter bases may need to be replaced. We're told that some are in bad shape. Some have already been replaced due to their condition. And that will be at the property owner's expense if you happen to have, that's an electric meter base we're talking about.
Electric made us do ours.
Right.
Yours is, we gotta fix it.
So what we're gonna do so that we don't slow the project down because timing is critical, is the town will contract with an electrical company to do that work. So if the meter base is required to be replaced, we'll contract that work and we'll bill the property owner for the work. That way we don't have the property owner saying, let me get my brother, the electrician, to do it, and we can't wait on this project. Plus we get a better price if we do it as a town contract with one electrical contractor. So the coordination, again, as I said, we're gonna contract with a single underground contractor to do all of the digging, water and sewer line installation, and conduit placement for electrical and communications. Mountain Electric will pull their own wire, the phone company, the cable company will pull their own wire, but the conduits will be put in the ditch at one time. This allows us to get the ditch opened, the conduit, the pipes, the sewer lines in place, close the ditch, and get a temporary road in there as quickly as possible. And then the follow-up will be getting the electric, telephone, and cable put in place. The roadway, we plan to replace it in 2 phases. Phase 1 will have a rock base and first layer of asphalt. This allows for testing of the new infrastructure. What we don't want to do is put in a brand new road and then find out we have a water leak or one of the conduits came apart and we've got to dig it up. I really don't like digging up new pavement. So it'll be, the first phase will be a temporary road. It'll be a safe and you'll be able to transition, but it'll be a construction type road. When the testing is done and we're certain that everything works and we don't have to dig up the road, we'll come back and we'll do a final finish layer of asphalt. We'll do the striping and the reflectors then. In the phase 1, the stormwater drainage will be handled there. That's where we'll put in curbs and gutters and drainage with that phase 1.
So these will be concrete or asphalt?
We've proposed asphalt, correct, Benji?
For the gutter, we're proposing concrete.
Concrete. See? That's why he's here.
What's the advantage or disadvantage of the asphalt versus concrete?
It's an asphalt material's cheaper, but then
Cost.
you're gonna have to replace it more often.
So longevity.
So longevity is, in the long run, the concrete should pay for itself. In addition to that, it's gonna be easier. The plan is to have more storm drain inlets than you have now. Try to get the water off the road faster. So then that's gonna go underground in pipe. So each time you got one of those inlets, you're gonna have like a cast iron grate,
Yep.
and that can just be a shape, a V shape
Mhm.
like the concrete gutter is. And the gutter and the grates would all be where you could drive over.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have to have a bunch of curb cuts.
Yep.
It would all be the same.
All right, thank you.
So one of the issues there is, as you know, up on Skiloft, parking is an issue. And so we don't want to build curbs because with the concrete as opposed to asphalt, which will break easily, we need to be able to drive over this for parking. So that's why I said it was going to be asphalt. So timeline. This is preliminarily for planning purposes, but it looks like at a minimum, access to your properties will be eliminated. There won't be a road for 90 days. There won't be a road, there won't be electricity, there won't be water and sewer, telephone and cable TV. So at a minimum for 90 days, there won't be access because we don't have a way to provide other access. Normally, if we were to do this project in the town, as we have in other places, there's an alternate route when we close a road. So the way to make it done as quick as possible is to turn everything off, cut it off, and rip it out while we're digging the ditch for the new pipes. But that's going to be the downside for the property owners. We plan to begin as soon as weather permits in early spring, like the day the resort closes. We want to have the contractor in place, the materials staged, and we start digging. We plan to open the road and provide services by July 1st. Now, that's not a completed project. That is, access to your property. There's electric, water, and sewer. I can't speak to phone and cable just yet, but access would be on a gravel road or gravel road with a surface of asphalt, just a construction type road. Final work would be completed within another 180 days. That's when we would go through the testing phase. We would finish all the connections and then do that repaving that I talked about. And the last bullet point we need to at least talk about is we may need to phase this project over 2 spring periods, because if it turns out that we can't get it to that point in 90 days, we'll do a portion. We have to close the road for 90 days. We'll get a portion done, open it back up. You all have the summer and winter season, and then we do it again the next spring for that 90-day period.
You don't have the repaving?
Well, it could be half the project 1 year, the other half the other part.
So then there'd be 2 90-day periods where we wouldn't have access?
Yeah, the road would have to be closed. So we need to make sure that everybody knows that for planning purposes, we'd like to get it done in 90 days.
And was that engineers that came up with the 90 days or? that
No, actually, the
time?
engineers said that's not enough time. And we said that's all we can give you.
Okay,
So it's kind of like the tail wagging the dog. The engineers have, and Benji has said, look, that's really tight. Anything goes wrong, we lose, time. But we need to get a contractor in place with substantial penalties, and they can work, 15-hour days.
Okay.
The contractor needs to be involved up front. Has to be done in 90 days, and there's substantial penalties in place. And then if we can't get a contractor that will do that, then we've got to come back to the planning board,
okay.
to the planning group.
So would that be, so will you know up front, once everything is finalized, whether you're gonna be able to hit that 90-day window? Or if you can't get a contractor to commit to that and you think it's gonna be 90 days, or are you gonna know about that 90-day window once you get into the project? When will you be able to identify the 90 days?
When you have a contractor that agrees that they'll do the job in that time period with those liquidated damages.
So that would be our best case scenario, would be get a contractor that could commit to 90 days.
Well, that's going to be the offering to the contractor. And we talked substantial penalties, $1,000 a day for anything that goes over, and the contractor is well aware that this project, you need 5 track hose. But it could be that we can't get a contractor to commit, and then we're back to a plan B. Benji, did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, that's all correct. And so the stage we're in, more, add more to that to answer your question, is still deciding. I mean, like it's tail wagging the dog, and that's fine. You can say, it's gotta be 90 days, no more. You put it out to bid, you just may not get anybody to submit the bid.
Right.
Because it's impossible.
Or their pricing?
Between now and actually bidding it out, we'd like to learn more about, from the homeowners, property owners, of course, what they have to say, but also from contractors, just informally, what can you realistically do? And maybe we stub out, some of these utilities and don't actually finish them out till after that 90 days. We gotta really fine tune exactly what has to be done in that 90 days, just trying to do the bare minimum to get people access back to their properties. So there's a lot of details to work out, and then after that process, we may decide, okay, we just know already that it's gonna take the 2 seasons, not just 1 season. Or maybe we ask for, go to July 31st, and Bob may say, no, that's not on the table, whatever, but, so I'm just saying, we're still in that process right now, deciding what is, realistic. And then, like he says, whenever we get to that point, put it out to bid and see if we get people to buy it, to commit to that kind of.
Free money's hard to come by, and it'd be interesting to get a quote on, the scope of this project is pretty significant, but get a quote on no penalties for 90 days, and then a penalty if they don't complete it in 90 days, and see, the difference of what those two numbers are. And then, should you carry it out? Should you carry it out with input from the homeowners, carry it out the following season, for another 90 days? Or as you suggested, I think you said you wanted this done by July the 1st. If you had an extra 30 days to it, how would that affect the bottom line? And go, 120 days rather than 90 days.
Well, that's true, but from a planning perspective, we've got to set some parameters. Because it'll just keep, we need to be able to tell the property owners, we're gonna ask them to sign an agreement to allow us to do this. Well, they're not gonna do that with it wide open.
Sure.
So we have to have some planning parameters. So right now it's 90 days, and the engineer has told us that's really tight. So if we can't get a contractor to commit, the $1,000 a day, I'm just throw that number out, really it doesn't mean anything, because we have to get it done in the time frame we say we do. Money coming back doesn't do us any good.
Sure.
We've got to get the project done.
Yep.
So it's a point of finding a contractor we're comfortable with, we know can do the job, that they know us, and the ability to get it done, has the wherewithal, the horsepower, the infrastructure to get it done. But this is one of the first steps. We need, we've spent quite a bit of time planning it and doing the engineering now, and we've talked to council. Now it's time to talk to the homeowners, and basically if we can't all come together, this project's not gonna get done.
Do the property owners know the alternative? They decide not to move forward? I mean, has that been communicated?
Well,
Where we
I don't
as
know
a
that-
town could end up?
I don't know that we've communicated that well enough. We sent a letter out, we're having a town meeting today, we'll follow up. We'll produce the easement, 90-day construction easement agreement, and we'll see who signs and who doesn't.
Okay,
And that's the next step in the process.
okay.
So,
I could also say that one of the reasons we're here today, this early, it does appear that we don't have a great amount of direct answers, but that's also on purpose. We wanted to get everyone, all of the community involved as early as we could feasibly begin to give information. So understand, and I think it's understood, but I do want to make it clear that, we're well ahead of the game right here, trying to get your input into the planning process itself. So I realize that, you'd love to have more answers, more definite dates, more definite, and that is coming. But we felt, as a town team, that the key here was to bring you guys in with the idea that was coming and get you in on the planning as early as possible so that, you guys have to make plans as much as we do in order to manage your property. So I just wanted to make that clear, that we're trying to get way out ahead of the game so that you have time to make.
let's say hypothetically, you don't get the support from enough people that you're comfortable to move forward. And what's the most catastrophic thing that could happen in December, January, February, rather than in the middle of season up on Skiloft.
From my perspective, big fire.
Fire?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the infrastructure?
I can give you mine for 100%.
Sure.
It's digging in frozen ground.
Yeah,
Is near an impossibility.
yep,
If there is a problem, the only places that we can access are to turn the main valves off below the hill that are not frozen.
so that would potentially shut down the entire ski loft?
Correct.
I think that's what.
And I could say there as well, we've been told the same thing about the electric. They have the same issue, everything is underground. And, you know, if you've lived on Skiloft, you understand the word freeze. You know, it's not that we won't, it can be physically impossible to make the repairs, depending on the time of year. And the result is a stopping of service until weather allows the work to continue.
That could be a couple months.
It could be.
So, this project, if it's going to happen, is going to require a partnership between every property owner in the town. The town does not have the money to litigate the project, and we don't have the money to pay damages. So, I'll put it as nicely as I can. If the property owners don't want to do this project, I'll be disappointed, but we're going to go use the money somewhere else in the town. So this may be a once in a long, I don't want to say a lifetime, but once in a long time coming opportunity to get this road, this neighborhood fixed. Without using a ton of taxpayers' money, but inconveniencing the neighborhood. We really can't do this without inconveniencing the neighborhood, and we're trying to do it in the most expeditious manner possible. So our legal counsel has said that we will not go forward, and the council has directed me to take this position until every property owner signs a construction easement that basically says that you'll allow us to disconnect the utilities and take out the road and inconvenience you and your property for a set period of time. And should we gather that, then the project will continue, and we'll do that. So bottom line is, we know what the problem is, we know what the solution is, and we've got the money. Now we need the property owners to say, yep, we want you to inconvenience us and do this for our benefit.
Can you legally have two contractors that can both do the same job, tag team this project?
Sure.
To potentially not shorten the 90-day window, but get you a little bit more closer to,
You won't shorten it. Don't
So-
even start
Well,
that.
they need
Yeah.
to get in a, round the clock situation, I mean,
Well, we don't know.
some of these contractors got,
But that comes into the cost, that comes into the cost factor.
I'm sorry?
That comes into the cost factor. You know, we do have some budgetary constraints. There are contractors available. You don't need two because there's no room to work. Once a backhoe or a track hoe gets on Skiloft and digs a hole, no one's going around him to go do work up there. So the contractor that we would choose would have the horsepower, have the material, have the manpower and the equipment to do this job. And either start from the top and dig it all down, or start from the bottom and dig it all up. But the problem is, and the reason we can't provide access to the community, is you can't dig a ditch big enough in the road and then have access to get around it.
mm-hmm.
It is a very difficult place to work.
So this easement is still sticking with the 90 days?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the proposal. All right, so Benji's, the engineer brought me some pictures, and I'm going to try and get those up. Benji, if you would, let me get those up. If you would show them what the project looks like. it's blank, no. Let me see if I can get it.
Do full screen. I have paper copies as well. Maybe after adjournment, we roll those out to you for like to look at.
Yeah,
But while he's doing that.
I'm looking.
So, yeah, I prepared some notes and then Bob prepared this PowerPoint. He pretty much covered everything, the main points that I would have thought of as well to talk about. We already talked a little bit about the storm drainage. Folks may be interested to know the proposed design for the street it won't be a whole lot different than it is now as far as the total width. But right now you've got some places a little wider than others, some places a little extra narrow. So the goal will be to get a full 16 feet of asphalt so that two cars can pass each other. And then of course have that concrete gutter on either side of that, 2 feet each. So there you're talking about 20 feet of basically level area. In addition to that, we're going to try to get 2 feet of grass or gravel driveway, whether it happens to be outside that gutter, 2 feet roughly level before you have just a straight wall or an embankment or something. So you have almost right at 24 feet of level-ish area.
So would that be taken away from parking then?
So you brought that up, yes. So there's certain areas where improvements have been made that are definitely in the right of way, in some cases are even within that 24-foot footprint we're talking about. So there's going to need to be adjustments made to some of those improvements. Again, as Daniel said, that's why we're starting this process now, because some of that stuff really needs to be done before the contractor is turned loose for that 90 days. Because that stuff can't be in the way.
I can't get it any bigger so you can see it.
So of course you got sharp curves, switchbacks, and so in some of those cases, as it is now, we'll try to keep a bulb out, a little extra room for the larger vehicles to make that turn. I think it might have already been mentioned, but water meters will be, some of the cases are up at the house. Those will be brought down back to near the curb, near the edge of the street. So that would mean, the town will do the work, but at the end of the project, that length of water service line from the road to your house, at the moment might be something that the town maintains, but after the project, it will be a homeowner responsibility.
You're talking about just additional water line that you moved it from
Right, so the
where you
3/4
get it
inch
out closer
line.
to the road, so you're talking
So
about
the
the main.
so, in case anybody didn't know already, the town's responsibility for maintenance of the water system goes all the way to the meter, and includes the meter, and then stops there. In most cases, you have a shut-off valve on the homeowner's side of that meter. That shut-off valve, I believe, is the homeowner's responsibility. So all that will get moved back to the edge of the road, if it isn't already in some people's cases.
Are most of those lines dilapidated today? Or
Yes.
they are? So they need to be replaced?
Some may have been replaced, but
It's all 3/4 inch galvanized. It's all 40, 50 years old. Many of those have been patched in places already, which is another weak point within the system. And to what the reason he's talking about moving this back to the road, there are many places because of the construction, the driveways and the parking pads that have been installed, we physically cannot work on the pipe anymore. It's 20 feet deep, it's out in the woods. Things that we simply can't accomplish, it's just infeasible, which is another reason for moving the meters back. It's unfortunate, but that's the way Skiloft grew.
so moving the water meter, we talked about the power meters. Those are significant changes. Again, the biggest change will be, positive. It's going to be a brand new street, all new infrastructure. But like I said earlier, though, that for particular property owners, there will be, like, the steps come down right to the very edge of existing asphalt. If we're coming back, widening the street just a few feet in those areas, and that end of those steps will have to be reworked. You have some retaining walls that are encroaching in that.
Are there street lights up there now? Any streetlights?
No streetlights.
Yeah, that's, we haven't talked about streetlights.
I didn't say you need them. I just want to know if they're out there.
We've got a slug light, we've got plenty of lights there. We're good.
That's it, so, you know, I think it's, you can't see that, but I have paper copies, and I'd be glad to look at individual properties, if you want to.
Just a quick question, daylight is included in that, right? That's because it's the neighborhood.
It is.
Yes.
How many property owners?
It's about 35, 30 to 35.
34, I believe,
It's 36.
2 full-time?
that we know of.
There will be a third, I spoke to him yesterday. A gentleman from Raleigh will be joining the community to purchase a house there, and will be leaving full-time. But he did, let me know that although he will be living there full-time, new to the area, he can't wait to see the upgrades to ensure his continued longevity in his home.
Something that, I'm Kevin, I live up on the top of Skiloft as well. That David has done as well, is increase your parking. If you do happen to have, and Mindy and I have talked about this a little while back when they were up at our house, this is a grand opportunity when things are moved, that some of these homes can have wonderful additional parking too. Several of these, the water and the transformers are in an opportune place for that, so this would be a great opportunity. Are you happy with your parking?
Yeah.
You got great parking. That looks really good.
Vice Mayor Cardy, any questions from the council? We'll go to the public.
Not for me. Well, actually, how many vendors will be working hand in hand together? From the contractor?
What was your
side
question?
line? How many vendors will be working hand in hand?
Utility companies, so
Yeah.
there's three utility companies and then the town, so it's
Okay.
basically 4 different organizations.
Okay.
And we've met with them.
Yes, sir.
They said their expertise to the meeting, and we hashed out the project.
Yes, sir.
We've got buy-in from all of them to do it in a continuous manner with one contractor. Each of the utility purveyors will reimburse the town for their portion of the work that has to be done. In other words, we're gonna dig the ditch and put the conduit in for the electric. Mountain Electric will reimburse the town for that portion of the work.
Yes, sir.
So will the phone company and the cable company.
Yes, sir. Kelly?
Are we giving property owners a time limit to accept or not accept this easement?
We will. There'll be a deadline. We don't have that yet. I don't even have the agreement drafted yet.
Okay.
We're still working on that with the other council.
And do we have a percentage that will make us go forward with the project, or it's a yes or no on all of them?
It's 100% right now.
Okay.
The legal analysis was that one property owner can stop the project by taking us to court
Okay,
and get an
and
injunction.
do those that use property management companies give their property management company the ability to agree or disagree with this easement, or it has to be specifically with a homeowner?
It'll be the property owner.
Okay. What was it for me?
One.
Yeah, I feel for the folks that are full-time residents that will be inconvenienced, for 90 days. Obviously, I guess the decision is going to be left up to them. But also, I look at the flip side is that you may be inconvenienced for 90 days, but if something catastrophic happens that shuts down the entire neighborhood, it could be months before that repair, and correct me if I'm wrong, from what you guys said, it could be months before that repair can be made, and that's just going to be, it won't be a good situation. So pick your poison. I hope that the project will be approved by everyone, and it's going to make the neighborhood, it's going to bring it up to 2021 or 2022, or wait a minute, or 2023. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
It is, it's a big decision, and Skiloft is a very, the view is spectacular. It is a very unique road, there's none other like it on the mountain, so it's a very serious decision, that has to be made by the homeowners. It seems like a great opportunity, but then again, it's one that takes a lot of time and thought. I'm glad, like Daniel said, Mr. Davis said, that we're looking at this at the very early stage and involving the homeowners, because it directly affects you and your status. I love the fact that everyone is willing to work together on this. I'm hoping that if everyone agrees on this, that we have a contractor that can get it done in 89 days. The sooner the better, because I think for the quality of life and or everything up there, it would definitely be for the better. But again, it's a tough decision to make. I hope the project goes through, but I need a big vote of confidence that everybody that owns up there feels really comfortable and confident, and that they want it done.
With the complaints or anything, you've heard the negatives about it, is it just the loss of income for because really you're, we've been doing this for years now. June would be, and that's not a very busy month, but the other 2 months generally you don't rent hardly at all. But would that be just a main complaint, or just not being able to get to their house, like, is the loss of income,
Well, that's
would be
the,
the holdup?
yeah, that's the obvious one, but we haven't really received a lot of negative, have we?
I've spoken to 4 residents on the phone, and a few folks in the roadway. Everyone agrees this needs to be done. Everybody sees the gravity of the situation, realizes the discomfort that will be caused. But regardless, you have property value, you have beautiful homes, and for that continuance, it simply must be done. There's no fault. There is no reason other than it is simply aged out and it is time for upgrade.
So that 1 month's rent should not override the benefits that we're gonna.
We should get a water bill, should we?
Oh yeah, you still get a water
Get a
bill.
water bill?
Oh, yeah. You gotta bring your trash to the bottom of the hill.
Chief, I got a question. Maybe I shouldn't ask this. I'm sure some other folks have thought about it. For those that are full-time residents, and it's gonna take me, I'm gonna go in circles for a second. So, if something catastrophic would happen up there, and in my opinion, it's not if, it's when that something's gonna happen. There's a lot of moving parts for things that can go wrong up there.
Well, up there, the road is sliding.
Well, I mean, that's a big one.
It's sliding on the base.
So if the folks that live up there now permanently are, don't have a home to go to, then the cost of housing or going somewhere the burden's gonna be on them. However, if everyone would agree to this, would the town be able to, if they have to go somewhere and rent, would the town be able to, unless all the homeowners that permanently live up there are on board with this, would the town be able to contribute anything to any housing costs for them?
Well, that would be a policy decision by the 5 elected officials. Your town manager would caution you, because I believe you need to treat every property owner the same.
Yeah.
We don't have any money in the budget for compensation. We're exceeding our legal budget as we speak, because we've had to, as you know, do some things on the legal side to make sure that we don't wind up getting sued and having to pay, some substantial damages. But that's a policy decision that the 5 elected officials would have to decide.
So as far as you know, the full-time residents, are they on board with this?
I'm not going to speak for them.
All right. Tucker, are you no comment, or don't know, or you got an opinion, or is it time if I can ask him? May I ask
no,
him?
the floor's open, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, are we in public comment?
It is a
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I know you're a great public speaker.
A concern on my mind about, having to live somewhere else, and, the other two residents are operating a business out of their home as well, but I'm also got that to worry about a little bit, so I'm not taking the bargaining chip off it. Somehow our water needs to be done, and I'd rather it be done in a controlled time
Mhm.
than me having the time of my life in 2 years skiing and then come home and there's no water. Oh, P.S. There's gonna be no water for 2 months. You can go find a hotel room. So,
Sounds like you just consented.
yeah, that's my only concern is yes, I need to live somewhere else. And
Sure.
yes, I need to have somewhere to keep ladders and saws and I mean, there's that would be my only
Sure.
concern about the whole thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna do what Councilman Abernathy just did, and I'm gonna talk in circles, and it may come out the wrong way.
You got 5 minutes,
so-
like Barry says.
Put a timer on. So we have 3 full-time residents, and we have residents that are operating a business, and it's obviously a necessity for them to be able to stay on the mountain and store things. This is a big what if, and since the town doesn't seem to have money to compensate, what if we had other taxpayers that were willing to allow them a place to stay on the mountain, as long as they paid the utilities, which they have to pay at their regular residence, that would offer that up for 90 days, and/or the town might be able to offer someplace for this gentleman to be able to store his ladders and his equipment.
Well, and that's what, when Tucker was talking about his ladders and your equipment, I don't know how much you store at your house, but I would like to, I mean, I think these guys are getting, provided they consent, they're getting a good deal on this. It's going to improve the neighborhood 100%. And if there's anything that the town can do, and we can be creative, if there's anything that the town can do,
Help
you
make
know,
it
we need
easier.
to see how we can accommodate them. Maybe we rent a storage unit, you know, if one's available, that someone can put their painting equipment or, you know, whatever. Like I said, we can be creative with it. And I think we can exhaust a lot of resources and do some brainstorming and get some input from them and make it, and try to, you know, cushion the discomfort of them being displaced. And what that is, you know, like you said, we're way too early in the program, but I think having an open conversation like this is beneficial.
Mandy, how many houses do you manage up there? 3. What do they say?
They're all on board.
Yeah.
They understand the loss of income, but they understand
The
the
benefit?
downside.
Sure,
the
sure.
benefits, and they're okay if they have to exceed beyond the 90 days.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Are there any other residents that live up there? You guys?
No, we don't live full-time, we have a place up there.
Mhm.
Okay. May I ask if you rent or you just use it personally?
No, we do rent it, but we don't rent it like some other houses may that rent it full-time. We love our house, we've had it for 30-some years up
Mhm.
there. So we're up there every 2 or 3 weekends.
Right?
So we don't rent it full season
Right?
like a lot of them do. But it's something that's needed. We're on Galax, and I will just tell you, our road is deteriorated to nothing now. It's not even level. Most of it's gravel anyway. But I do have a question. So I know we started real early because you have to get contractors and all that and all the planning involved in it. So at what point would you need 100% of property owners to consent to that? Is there a timeline?
I was going to ask the same question because time is of the essence.
I know you've got to have that way ahead because you can't go forward without that.
All right?
Is there a certain time, because a lot of properties up there are changing hands because real estate's wildfire right now. And so at what point someone may sign, but then the house is sold, and then you've got to find another signature.
Oh, yeah, what happens in that situation? That's a good point, yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, there is going to be a deadline. We don't have it yet.
Right.
You know, I'd like to be able to hand you a document today and get your signature.
Oh, sure, I mean, no way ahead.
But we'd like to target, the spring of '23, so we've got to do something in the next 30 to 60 days.
Right. I mean, it'll take a year's
And-
worth of planning just to put all this together.
And for those that are in favor of this, it sounds like most of you guys are. We need some, well, I don't think I think you guys need some cheerleaders
Yep.
and
Ambassadors.
start promoting this thing and try to get everyone on board.
Yeah, call your neighbors.
And, I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons on this, for sure. But,
It's a good step forward.
Yeah.
Ian, what do you and your family think? I know you guys come up all.
I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, it sucks both ends. It sucks more for people who are living there full time. We do rent our house out a lot, but we do love our house too. I mean, we're here as much as we can. I think there are general concerns of what the infrastructure is going to look like when it's done. At least parking perspective is really a sore spot, I think, for a lot of people. We've had people go multiple times for parking in our spots and stuff. And then really the concern is that 90 days, if that's real or not, and then what that looks like temporarily. I'm an engineer. This is a huge project. I totally get it. I also don't think it'll be done in 90 days. I think that's really grasping at it. So, if there is a plan, looking at it from two different perspectives of 90 days, does that mean that whole road has to be blocked off, or is it only sections of it? In that first 90 days, and then the next season it's a different section. From an access point as well, are we able to drive up the ski slope at all? Has that been discussed at all for secondary road access? You're saying there's no other way, but
It has been discussed.
is it not an option?
It's not an option.
Yeah, I mean, I assume we're on board. We're talking to
Man,
Whatever
see
Mom
who,
says.
see who wears the pants. You don't wear shorts, do you?
She's got the notes.
Help us, know what people will do not wanting to do it,
The loss of income is, with a mortgage, so
Sure.
it's not, it's gonna be impactful. So if we talk about 90 days, if I'm looking, it's probably $6,000. If we go out in July, that's $14,000. That's obviously gonna have a significant impact to being able to offset expenses. And then with the easement, it sounds like there's not, typically when you see easements, there's monetary, and it doesn't sound like there's any offset from that end, so it's really just a loss from my perspective. And then, so I guess agreed it needs to be done, it's a monetary concern, and would pose what other options or what other compensation, even if it's not monetary or upfront, can there be a reprieve from taxes or occupancy taxes or other alternatives to help kind of make us whole for that lost income?
Well, can't do occupancy tax, the town doesn't control that. That's a policy decision by the elected officials. I would caution them that we do projects all over the town that impact residents, and if we get into the habit of giving tax rebates, it's going to be hard to say that it's different on XYZ road than your road.
Are there impacts that are as significant as 90 days where you can't
No.
actually go to your house?
No,
Because I'm gonna be paying taxes during that time too,
Right.
right? So,
no doubt, that's the concern, and that's why this project is being proposed as it is. A project of this size, we typically take 6 months to 2 years. Understanding we don't construct during the winter, but the last project we did took, Daniel, 2 years of working season.
Were there people that didn't have access to their homes? I guess is the main question. For
No.
all the projects that were had, people were always able to get in their
Yes.
homes and use it. So
Yeah.
this is
it doesn't
different.
sound like there's a precedent that
Right,
would be,
exactly.
this
This
is
would be
an
a precedent.
extraordinary
And
circumstance.
if we're worried about it down the line, saying because we did it, everybody else will, or the history of the town, this is the first time it's happening, I don't think that's a big concern.
Well, we've never turned off their power either, And so we could do this project, just do the town side, and you really wouldn't have anything different than anyone else in the town. But then we would put in a new road that would be dug up by the power company at some point when their power failed. So, you know, it's, I would just caution the council to be careful about that type of thing.
The other question, just in regards to the road itself, I'm concerned with specifically our lot, with the road where it comes, if we're talking about going out further, that we would then be losing parking, and then there's also no monetary compensation for taking land either.
Well, we won't be taking land, everything will be done in the right of way, so if you have parking that would be taken, it's not on your land. So, Benji's got, paper drawings, he will show you your lot, your piece of land, and show you what's proposed and where the right of ways are. Parking is an issue up there, but this project will not be taking any private property. It'll all be done in the right of way.
So does that mean that you're gonna have somebody out and do the plots for everything and, do full survey of everyone's,
We have a
it's already done?
survey's done.
For this project specifically?
So we know exactly where all the property lines are, where the right of ways are. There are some encroachments where, improvements have been made, as Benji said, and those are in the right of way. And we'll have to either relocate those or have those removed to get this.
How soon will the owners know that, I don't even know if we're in encroachment or anything, just so we can plan?
We can show it to you today.
Today's the first step of that process.
Yeah.
Well, folks, any more comments or questions from the public?
Liability, I guess, with connecting sewer, if there's leaks or whatever with a vacant house. Is that owners, will that fall on the town to cover those damages, or how are we thinking about that? I'm not familiar with insurance.
I'm sure I understand the question. Do you understand the question, Daniel?
If you connect a new water line and you have excess pressure right when that line gets connected, it pops a line in our house. We don't have access to our house. We don't even know if it's leaking inside. Then we come in, our house is full of water because of that connection. Who's responsible for that?
Good question.
Daniel, do you want to handle that?
The way that we normally handle that is we actually would not return any water service to your home until there was someone there. What we do is we pressure test those lines, we check the valves, and we can do everything to the meter. We would simply be reconnecting to your existing water pipe in a different location, possibly. Some of you, it would be the same place. Others, it would be a different place. But regardless, the pressure testing would go from the water main to the water meter. And then past that point, we would, and we always do, ask for you or a representative to be present and available. Literally, would we turn the valve so that that type of thing doesn't happen?
The water line was just an example, I guess. If there any other, the infrastructure that's being done here being such a large project, any of that were to cause damage to somebody's home during that connection period, and then we weren't there to see that it was done, I guess.
My understanding is that the way each of you, the dangerous utility, as it were, would be the water, because you have a physical force being exerted. That should be the only danger. I'm not sure how Mountain Electric would handle their service turn-ons. I don't know if, is power stronger when the wire is newer? I don't understand that, but through that process, I'm sure that David Smith, he is he's the manager, engineer for Avery and Watauga counties for the Mountain Electric Cooperative. I'm sure he can answer that question, and we'll make sure that he gets an answer to that question.
Yeah, because things happen, I mean, we all know, we go into the plan and.
As far as the town's concerned, though, I don't turn water on to anyone's home without them being there.
So again, any other comments from the public?
When will we know if there is any option where the council makes any monetary decisions on whether, taxes are, let go for that time, or anything else that can be done, not from the budget itself, but from the town?
I'd say we'd have to check with the town attorney first, and obviously the mayor, and have a quorum, and proceed from there.
You know, I don't think the town will be able to, you know, I talked about maybe a storage unit or something like that, if that would be helpful, but, you know, like Chief said, you know, if we help one out, then we'll have to help everyone out
Correct.
and open up that precedent. And so, you know, that is a concern.
We understand this is a extremely dynamic situation and project we're facing, and obviously we all want to do the right thing and replace it, but I encourage you all to call your neighbors and explain the situation and obviously the benefits of this, and versus, oh, it's January and this happens, what do y'all do? You know, that's the flip side. Benji, anything to close the meeting? Yes, sir. And then, Chief, from your perspective, or a question for you and staff, would you want council to come up with a drop dead date for the consent forms in this meeting, or would you like to wait for a regular?
Well, I think
Council.
we need to talk to legal counsel
Yes, sir.
and see what the parameters would be, and then I'll bring it to you either at a regular meeting on the agenda, or
Great.
we'll have a special meeting.
Okay. Yes, sir.
How's that sound?
Yes, sir. Sounds great. Any other questions, folks? All right, meeting is adjourned. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all coming, your input.
So we can lay the plans out if someone wants to take a look at it.